Now it's come to the part where we want to airbrush our helmets, and for the base of the helmet I have chosen a grey-blue paint. And this might seem odd since the armor is blue on the miniature, but I want the shadow to reflect a little bit of the armor on this particular case, so I ain't gonna paint it the same way as I painted the Ultramarine symbol. And for the highlight on this, or the layer, I'm going to use the duck egg green, as I'm already using. And we're going to build up the reflection spots where I want the white to be shining, and then I'm going to use the pure dead white. It's going to be a little bit diluted by the airbrush, so yeah. I'm gonna paint the top of the helmet, and then the bottom is going to collect light as it transitions down towards the end of the plate in front of his face. Can't remember the name of it right now. And I use 1 drop of duck egg with 2 drops of flow improver, just to make the paint more workable. And I paint this up in several layers to get more control of it. Small burst also lets just enough paint through, not an over excessive amount. So I'm barely moving the trigger backwards, almost not at all. So yeah, now we're going to get to the dead white. So next up we're using our dead white. Get a lot of bubbles in this one, and I hate when it does that because you can't tell how much paint you got. So both 1 drop and 2 drops of flow improver will do the trick. I have too many brushes. So slowly going to build up the white now. Might not look like much now, but when all the other highlights and the shades are coming on to the details, and we're painting out the gold and the little feather hat, can't remember the name of that either, Plime or something. It's hard when English is not your native language. But when all that's painted out, the white is going to be more prominent and visible and more shaped. So now it's time to shade our helmet and pick out the resistive details and bring forth the white. So here is a little thing why I choose the base coat for the helmet that I did. It's because the dark sea green is going to contrast the base fairly well, since it's green and the base is bluish. So that's another reason why I choose the blue base. As all the other colors have been painted on to the helmet, it will be more in the green tone than the blue tone, so it doesn't blend in too much with the armor. It's gonna have a hint of it, which I want. I'm also going to paint a blue stripe in the middle of the helmet as well, to symbolize that these are guys from a higher ranking in the Ultra squads. There we go. You can see that now the helmet looks more whiter, and you can see all the details where our white is going to be once this is finished. So next up we're going to do a simple highlight of white to this, and then the white is going to be done. So this is fairly simple white to do. You can do this on many other types of armors or cloth or whatever you want to. This is going to put our blue ultramarine symbol, the white ultramarine symbol, a little bit out of touch with the helmet, since the ultramarine symbol is highlighted with ivory and this is with off-white. But it ain't gonna be visible too much, since the symbol is surrounded by a lot of blue as well. But otherwise I would suggest to paint them in the same way, since they're on the same miniature. But this will work fairly well as well. I mainly choose these colors because they were easier to airbrush onto the helmet and get a good contrast in the way we are painting this, since it's going to have a blue stripe on it as well. It's a little bit of a difference between the symbols and the helmets. And it's arguably harder to paint out the eye lenses when you're highlighting the sockets like this. That's something I do out of... I usually do that so often, so I haven't really started to get off that habit of doing that. But yes, it's better to paint out the eyes before you do that. It really is. But you can always go back and highlight it again. So yeah, that's a white helmet. That's how easy it's done. The background is white now, so you can't see it's in its full potential. But let's see if we put it next to a ultramarine body. You should be able to see how it would... you see that it blends in a little bit to the ultramarine body, so it reflects the blue a little bit. But at the same time it got that green shade to make it stand out more. So we got we got the good of both worlds in the sense of color. You can see there's a tiny bit difference, not much, to the symbol and the helmet. Lastly, let's put a blue stripe of ultramarine blue in the middle of the helmet. Here is a good choice to work with the same color as you have for the main armor. So I'm just sketching out the middle before. This is not going to be 100% straight or even, but we'll work as close as we can. Then I work out from the middle to the sides to have more control of the thickness of the stripe. We can see straight ahead that we need to adjust a little bit. Sides. So sort of when I let my brush go down the helmet, I let it decide the thickness as I push it and the hairs flattens out. Something like that. Just gonna give it a little bit of a quick highlight with a Sure. I have no clue how that's pronounced. We're gonna highlight the middle of the blue stripe. It's gonna dab it onto the surface. There we go. It follows the white highlight as well, which is good. It's a blue stripe. So lastly, I just want to show how I paint the feathers on his helmet here. And it's gonna look something like on this guy when it's done. It's gonna be a simple but effectful little paint job. So I'm going to first use the spare green for shading down the recessed areas in the base of the little feathers. So I'm just gonna do a glaze to make it darker. So a very thin down glaze to make it flow into the small recessed areas of each little straw that's sticking out of the helmet. It's going to be a little bit annoying to paint each individual straw by itself, in case you have like 10 heads to paint at the same time. So you don't want to be too focused on each of those details. So therefore it's good to let the paintwork do the job itself a little bit. Focus on some of the deeper, more prominent recessed areas, of course. So next up we're going to paint with some Ultramarine red. Now we're going to focus a little bit more on each individual straw of the feathers. Just stroke them out like this, and they're going to be very visible on the areas that's more darkened by the despair green, but that's okay. Just as long as you leave a little bit of despair green in the recessed areas and shape these like a line. And for the middle at the top here, we're going to make a very thin transition with glazes and paint. Lastly, and very easily, we're going to give it a little stroke of the German orange. This little paint here. Just to show that the light bounces off the edges of the climb. What its name is. You can lean the brush down a little bit to catch some of the details that's starting on each of the feathers. And then we're just going to make a very thin glazed stroke in the middle here. Like that. And we're done. That's how easy we do that. So it's mostly the dark that makes it more effective. So yeah, that's it for these Ultramarine guys, and I will show you a quick assembled shot of them. So here we have our brave troopers that are going to be our Ultramarine command. As you can see, with all these painting tricks and tips applied on a number of models like this, they look kind of good together. So they kind of buff each other like this. Individually they still look very, very good, of course, but together they always look a lot better because all that detail just combines with each marine. So yeah, looking forward to put these on their bases, and and not quite done with our banner guy. He's just gonna get his standard bearer, but I'm still working on the actual banner. So should be done pretty soon. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these tutorials of how I painted the Ultramarines and the more take on realistic blue armor. And I don't think I had any good tutorials of blue armor as of yet, since my first one was in my early stages. And I think the quality is a bit better now in regards of color and light in the videos, and the instructions I give out and how I show things, as well as these are not even the same colors and the same take on how to paint in more deeper and not so colorful Ultramarine armor. The first one is more cartoonish, as this one is a little bit more realistic. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.